The silent killer. I know some will be thinking about this topic, will be asking yourself questions. What exactly is this silent killer? If you do not know, high blood pressure is sometimes referred to by doctors as the silent killer. It is referred to in this way because people often do not even know they have high blood pressure until it has already done it damage. But at this very moment, this lesson is not going to talk about high blood pressure, but instead about another silent killer condemned in the scriptures. And this silent killer is bitterness. So I'm going to talk to you about bitterness as the silent killer. Bitterness might be called the real silent killer, like high blood pressure. Bitterness may go unnoticed by others, and sometimes the person who has bitterness may not fully realize it. Thus, it is important for us to put on the cuff from time to time to check our bitterness level. If I may ask, do you know your bitterness level? If not, join me as we discuss, and alongside you get to know whether you have bitterness or not. We speak of something being literally bitter when it has a sharp or unpleasant taste. Mentally, however, bitterness is an ongoing pain, hurt, and mental anguish which is felt by people due to the past event or circumstances. Bitterness has been called resentment, which has been held on to. Yes, bitterness grows out of the refusal to let go when someone or something is taken from us. People get hurt because of difficult circumstances, event, or other people. They hold on to that hurt and it turns into bitterness. Quickly, in the Old Testament, we have this example of which I want each and every one of us to take a critical look about it. And I know by these studies, it will help us to know our bitterness level. From the Old Testament, we have this personality by the name Naomi. And this person is found in the book of Ruth. And we learn that Naomi, along with her husband and 2 sons, went to Moab to live because of a famine that was in Judah. Her sons married 2 women by name Orpah and Ruth. In the course of their time, her husband died, and then her 2 sons also died. Naomi's losses made her bitter, and she said, according to Ruth chapter 1, verse number 13 and verse 21, verse 13 read, "Would you wait for them till they are grown? Would you restrain yourself from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieves me very much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord has gone against me." Verse number 20, "But she said to them, do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me." Verse 21, "I went out full, and the Lord has brought me home again empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me?" Beloved, this is the statement from Naomi. And this is exactly what I'm talking about to you as the silent killer by name bitterness. The name Naomi signifies something which is pleasant or something which is amiable. But the name Mara, as Naomi is saying that she should not be called Naomi any longer, is something that signifies bitter or bitterness. Note from the above the number of times that she has blamed God that the hand of the Lord has gone against her, and that she is blaming God for her misfortunes. Naomi allowed her losses to cause her so much, and this caused her to become bitter. Many often than not, people allow difficult circumstances to cause them to become bitter, either against their fellow human beings or sometimes against God. In the same Old Testament, we have this another great personality by name Hannah, and that we could see from the book of 1 Samuel. Another Old Testament example of bitterness. She was married to Elkanah, who had another wife beside her. Hannah was unable to bear a child and was very sad as a result of not being able to get a child. But Elkanah, who also had another wife aside Hannah, that wife was rather bearing children for Elkanah, which seemed to cause some resentment between these two women. And whenever we look at this situation, we see typical of these things among us today. Elkanah, although treated Hannah very well and loved her dearly, but she was deeply grieved. Her husband could not even console her. Yes, there are so many people today who are going through such things, and for that matter, they are so bitter to the extent that it is killing them slowly. According to 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse number 10, she was in bitterness of soul. This was another example of the circumstance of life that is causing a lot of bitterness in the life of people. But to Hannah's credit, however, she turned to the Lord during this very difficult time. She asked God for a child, and she would give that child to the Lord. And do you know what happened? The Lord granted her request. So if you could put away that bitterness and turn to the Lord as Hannah did, I know the Lord will answer you definitely. Beloved, as I'm going through these examples with you, whenever you come to the New Testament, there is another passage that also warns us against bitterness from the book of Hebrews chapter 12 verse number 15. And it says, looking carefully lest anyone fall short of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up cause trouble, and by this many become defiled. A root of bitterness, like the root of a tree, can be below the surface and not even be detected by others. Whenever you see a tree standing, you can see that its roots are always beneath, and therefore you cannot see it until you dig. And this is exactly what is creating problem for people today. That they are having so much bitterness to the extent that it is within, and for that matter, we cannot even see them than to talk to them about. But beloved, it is more dangerous to keep these things with you. And do you know why? Eventually it will show itself, and its product, or it will produce a fruit of bitterness, of which it will be evil speaking, it will be anger, it will be hatred, and these are the fruit that root will bring out. Bitterness in the text says that it can defile others as well. It can hurt relationships and can even cause disunity among congregations, among brotherhood, among families. You can name it as you are. But there are a lot of Bible passages that speaks against this thing. Even in Colossians chapter 3 verse 19, Paul wrote to the Colossians and talked to them about the dangers of bitterness, even within marriage. And what Paul said is that, husbands, love your wives and do not be bitter towards them. So the husbands, they are to love their wives and do not be bitter towards them. So instead of having bitterness towards his wife, the husband is told to love her. So in the absence of love, there is bitterness. And in the absence of bitterness, there is love. These two words work oppositely. And for that matter, whenever you want bitterness to exist, proper love is always lacking. Problems often cause between a husband and a wife, and then problems that are not settled, therefore can fasten what we call bitterness. So whenever there is disagreement, there is the need to be discussed and to be resolved. We need to take our time in our marriages to resolve and discuss issues so that it will not yield to bitterness. Trivial disagreements should even simply be forgotten. Many couples need to learn how to forget about it and to get over certain things. If not, bitterness can develop, which can destroy any relationship, especially our marriages. Don't forget that bitterness is a sin, and it must be put away according to Ephesians chapter 4 verse number 31. Now pick your Bibles and read with me the book of Ephesians chapter 4 verse number 31, and it says, let all bitterness, wrath, anger, glamour, and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. Yes, bitterness is named among other forms of sins. And for that matter, this is something the Bible is trying to tell us that we need to put it away from our lives. Sometimes a person will say that with what that this person has done to me, I have every right to be bitter. Yes, from your human point of view, you can say you have every right to be bitter. But in the sight of God, said no matter how the situation is, let go. You have to let go, beloved. If not, it will be something against you and your God. Yes, it will be something against you and your God. In the same way, although it might be not too easy, yes, sometimes looking at certain situations, it is not too easy, humanly speaking, to let go. But the word of the Lord is telling us to let go. And therefore, God requires not what is impossible, but rather what is possible. So no matter how the situation is, God knows for sure it is possible to let go. That is why he's telling you to let go. Else, it will spring up bitterness. Now one will ask, how do I put away my bitterness? According to Ephesians chapter 4 verse 32, it makes it clear that bitterness is to be replaced with kindness and compassion. And that is love. In the absence of love is where bitterness will always reign. So we need to have enough kindness and compassion in our heart so that there will be no room for bitterness to stay. If we allow bitterness to stay in our heart, then definitely we can't love, we can't have compassion, and we can't be so kind to people. The point also tried to tell us that we should always learn to forgive. Even as God, for the sake of Christ, has forgiven us, sometimes it's very difficult to forgive, but we must do it. Even if a person is not repented, the Bible teaches that we should love our enemies. Yes, maybe you think that person is your enemy, that is why he's doing this thing to you. And according to Romans chapter 12 verse 17 to 21, take your time and read these Bible passages very well. And it will tell you that we are not always to overcome evil with evil, but rather we are to be overcome evil with good. Whenever one is doing evil against us, we should overcome it with good. We must repent and pray that the Lord Almighty will forgive us. Beloved, I'm talking to you about the silent killer. And many life dealings can cause bitterness, such as the death of a loved one. Yes, it could be your wife, your husband, your children, your mother, your father, somebody who is very close and dear to your heart. It could be sickness. It could be difficult circumstances. It could be that somebody is really hurting you and he is mistreating you in some way or the other. Yes, I understand your pain. But what I want to tell you is that try to let go. If not, bitterness will spring up. We must realize that life is full of hurt, and it's always, this thing will always be. Yet we cannot do away with these things. We must never allow ourselves to be victims of other people's offenses. So far as a person has done that to you, you shouldn't overcome that same evil with evil, but rather do it with good. It must for our own good and for the good of others that will put away all bitterness. It's your brother Gyasi-Quansah once again. I'll come to you another time. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Share the video as well for us so that you will save somebody from this silent killer. Same time next week. Bye bye.